Hey, how's it going, everyone? Just thought I'd do a quick long-term review of the Leatherman Signal here. Now, I've had this thing going on several months, and I think I've put it through its paces and used it for its intended purpose, and I think I've been able to get a good idea of who this is for and the usability of this item, and if it actually does what it claims to do well. So I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about that and some of the parts and the tools in this that I actually ended up using and weren't just lying dormant. So yeah, as you guys probably know, Leatherman has many different multi-tools. They have some kind of general purpose ones like rebar, and what is it, surge, charge. So you know, actually surge and charge, they can kind of be considered like the contractor's, multi-tool. But yeah, you got your kind of general ones like that. And then you have tools like the Mutt, which is centered towards like firearm maintenance. And then you have the Signal, which is supposed to be garnered towards like the, backpacking / camping, outdoorsman, bushcrafty type person. So yeah, I recently started picking up backpacking and camping and overlanding and that sort of thing, and figured that this tool would be useful, it would fall into that category. So I picked it up. Well, over the course of a few months, there was a few tools I used and some I just straight up didn't, pretty much ever. So first I'll go over the ones I did use. So 9 times out of 10, whenever I was reaching into my pocket to pick this thing out, it was to use the knife. And more specifically, I would use it to use this part of the knife. Not so much the serrated edge. I almost never used it. I'm sure I did use it. It just, I never remember reaching into my pocket and thinking, oh, I am taking this out for the sole purpose of using the serrated edge. No, pretty much was to use this blade here. The other thing that I use, I'd say like the second most, is actually the Pummel. This was actually a lot more useful than I thought it was going to be. It's basically just something hard that you can slam things against. I used it a few times for tent poles. Actually lent it to some friends a few times to smash in their tent poles when they were pitching their tent, and just overall kind of just like slamming on something. Like if you ever just need a beat on something, this is a good tool for that. A little caveat though, because this Pummel is rather thin, when you are using it in that Pummel, kind of grip, you better make sure that you've got good accuracy, because if you don't, because it's not so wide, whatever it is that you're hitting on, you may slip, and it's very easy to hit your hand here, which has happened to me several times. So yeah, something to note there. The other thing I used is the Carabiner, not to necessarily latch it on anything, but as the bottle opener feature that it has here. Friends used it a few times. The pliers I definitely used. Definitely used the pliers. I mean, they're pliers. They're it's a universal tool. I will say a few times they came in clutch. I was like, man, I'm not sure I would have been able to do that if I didn't have a set of pliers. It's also nice because they're full length pliers. Also the wire cutters, super useful. Use that a few times on for automobile purposes. I need to cut coolant hoses and that kind of thing. It worked really well for that. No hard wires necessarily. It is also nice that they are replaceable, so that's really cool. I didn't need to worry about beating on them too hard and I'll need to replace the whole tool if I actually use this thing. Never felt that way because they are replaceable. So that is pretty much the extent of the tools I used, well, the most / at all. So now a list of things I never did use. These, I don't know what size millimeter these little ratcheting holes are, but yeah, never used them ever, not once. Actually, no, I lie. I remember sticking an Allen key through it and then using this to kind of torque on it. So yeah, for that specific application, yeah, I did use it. But yeah, if your Allen key can't fit in here, tough luck. So that I never used. I never used the saw. I was kind of excited to use this when I got it because I really thought I was going to end up using it, but just never did. There was never a shortage of branches on the ground, and honestly, any branches that weren't that I needed to take down, I mean, all I would honestly need to do is just grab it and kind of wiggle on it. If I really needed to, I could just take out this knife and kind of like finish it off, essentially. So I never needed to use this to process any wood or anything. Now, I'm not going to say I never used the Phillips or the flathead screwdriver. I certainly did. However, if you have better tools lying around, like, you're not going to reach for this Leatherman first. Like, you're definitely going to reach for them because this is just honestly something that you use when you don't have it available, which I know is the whole point of a multi-tool. But yeah, in the applications that I found myself needing it, I mean, I never needed to use it when I was camping, you know. And if I was home, I always had, you know, like an actual set of tools with me that I prefer to use that were a lot more ergonomic and etc. So I always reached for those instead. The can opener, never used. Slash, some people use these for like their second blade, so they don't dirty their main blade. Yeah, never did that. And the awl, I did use a few times, but it wasn't like, oh my god, if I didn't have this awl, I would have never been able to complete this project. Like, it never felt that way. I just couldn't find any use for it there. The sharpener, I did technically try to use, but it just didn't work very well. I would just basically, not that I needed to sharpen anything. Well, actually, no, I lied. I needed to sharpen this. I've kind of beat on it a bit, like everyone can probably make out here. I mean, it looked dull, but it's still got an edge to it. But yeah, I remember like dulling it out, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna use a sharpener finally, and it just didn't do anything. It's just not coarse enough to actually, it's more for, I would say, like honing / polishing the blade more than it is like reprofiling something. Like, yeah, you're just gonna wait until you get home. I mean, I guess if you were like in a bug out situation, then okay, you probably would, you know, just make lemonade with this. But yeah, never used it. And then the other thing I almost never use, which is also going to be the source of a gripe I have, is this whistle / flint. Okay. The whistle is actually pretty loud, so that's cool. Never needed to use it though, thankfully. Usually if you got to use one of these, probably not in a good situation. But yeah, actually I have some other items that can whistle for me. Some of the backpacks I have even have a whistle on the sternum strap, so I just would end up using that a lot of the time. So never needed to use it for that. And then for the fire starter here, I mean, I used it as kind of like a gag more than anything. I was like, oh, does this work? It does work, and it sparks up pretty well, and you can use, you know, the saw here, I think, in conjunction in order to get sparks to fly. But again, never like used it primarily. You know, I always had some other source. And the other caveat with this is the first time, this is actually a replacement piece. This is not the original color that comes with it, if you guys are wondering why yours or the one you're looking at doesn't come with this color. And that's because this is a replacement. Because the one that I had, essentially, I'll kind of try and illustrate that as best I can. So the way you're supposed to load this back in, actually I already did it wrong, see, it's not quite intuitive. You're actually supposed to load the fat end, which doesn't go in easily. You're supposed to load it into the spring and then kind of like finagle it back in. Okay, never mind. That actually isn't the way you are supposed to do it. See, I'm already forgetting. So you're supposed to put it in here this way. It's supposed to latch on behind there, secure itself, and then go in the spring. Now, that, maybe I didn't illustrate that well enough, but yeah. That's how you're supposed to secure it, right? So that way this closes. Well, the first time I opened this dang thing, that did not happen. In fact, basically what happened was, I don't know, it felt like somebody had it before. They put it in incorrectly, and then if you put it in correctly, let's say you're in a hurry, and it doesn't come out flush on the other side here. If you notice, it's not there. It's kind of just deep in there, and you try closing it in haste, and then you just kind of like cinch down on it, you will break it. It's pretty, I'm not going to say cheap plastic, but I mean, it's plastic, you know, so about as hard as plastic can be. So yeah, it broke. So that is pretty much a conclusion of my user experience. You know, I think it's a valiant effort to try and appeal to the backpacking, camping kind of crowd. But honestly, if I had to kind of go into that mindset, if I was let's say I was a backpacker, I wouldn't be taking this thing. It's too heavy. It's way too heavy. Not sure exactly on the ounces. I'll post the ounces in the description, but it's heavy. It's super heavy. And to be honest, I mean, you're not, look at me struggling here. To be honest, you're not, like I said, 9 times out of 10, when you're reaching into your pocket, it's to pull out the knife. So rather than, you know, spending $100+ on a knife, a very heavy knife, with occasionally some tools, you know, it might be better, in my personal opinion, to just kind of get something, you know, more focused. Like if you're backpacking, you know, maybe like a Bug Out Mini. So yeah, this thing just does cutting, and it does it very well. It's very specific, right? This thing, not so much. It's super heavy. Now, if you were to take this not say backpacking, let's say car camping, I could kind of see more uses to this. But again, if you're going car camping, this is kind of, you know, because you got a car, you're going to have an opportunity to take more things with you. So you'd probably take a dedicated mallet, a dedicated, you know, bush knife, a dedicated saw, you know, you probably wouldn't even need a fire starter. You probably have a few, you know, lighters and whatnot. Pliers. Sure, I guess this is something that you might not intuitively need, but may need, you know, for like maybe tick removal or something. I could kind of see that being useful for. So yeah, I feel like in the car camping situation, you would likely, and what I end up seeing a lot of people doing is just bringing dedicated tools. So I'm not really too sure who this is for. Now, there is one usage I think that it would be useful for. And just to kind of give a comparison, this little smaller Leatherman style PS I actually use way more. Not just for the pliers. I've not needed to use these like little bolt cutter, cable cutters, whatnot, but actually use the scissors a lot more, which I use them basically as nail clippers. And then I use this little doodad here that is a nail filer. So it's really good for like little maintenance stuff, and this for picking out things in your, you know, your nails. And I've actually used it to pry things open before. I've used it as a Phillips, and even as a flathead. If you kind of lie it down at an angle, you can do that. It's super light. It's TSA friendly. The only place I haven't been able to take it is, believe it or not, Disneyland. So, I mean, I can fly with it, but I can't take it on to Disneyland. But I think that combo would do a lot better with like something like this for like light backpacking than a full-fledged, you know, heavy multi-tool like this. So the only kind of crowd I see this really appealing to is the bug out people, the preppers. Okay, this is, I think, where it should really be marketed towards, not the backpackers and campers and overlanders, to be honest. Yeah, I think this is kind of the crowd that really it's for, because it's not something you want to rely on. But, you know, in a pinch, yeah, it's better than nothing, that's for sure. You know, it may take you longer, but, you know, at least you'll have this. I mean, the other good thing is it's really well built. You know, there's that. They got a good kind of return policy and customer support. I mean, I did actually message them about this, the whistle. Asked them if they could replace it, and they said that they would not because it is available for sale on the store. That was literally their reply, which basically means if there are replacement parts for it, they want you to buy it first before they actually send anything back. So that wasn't a good customer service experience, I got to be honest with you. They've done stuff like this before, like when my Leatherman style PS, the little pliers, there's these little pliers that come with, not pliers, I'm sorry, more like this little bugger here. You know, I don't know, eyebrow pluckers. I don't know. The word escapes me, but yeah, this bit here, there's like glue that holds it together. It actually like broke off, and then I told them about it, and they're like, oh, okay, here's 10 of them. So they sent me 10 of them, which was really cool. But yeah, anyway, so that was actually not a great experience. So overall, I'd say not the best tool, especially for the money. No, I just, it's hard for me to kind of recommend this. And you guys have probably seen and heard similar reviews about this. You know, for the money, there's just better things out there. I gotta be honest with you. So anyways, that's been my take. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And if you like what you see, subscribe. And if not, let me know in the comments below. And yeah, with that, see you guys later.